wrote a lot of the record. I toured almost all of 2011, and everywhere. Did probably 150 shows, and wrote a lot of the record on that tour. Just sort of being more influenced. I think that music in general is being more liberal with like the Lumineers and Adele, and you don't have to really fit into a box as much as you had to 5 years ago. So I think there's definitely a change, and I think that, you know, what I had to do personally was just to go with who I am rather than who I think people want me to be. So that was a huge thing on that record, making it darker, simplifying things, really focusing on the songs, and working with anybody and everybody. I met the team. I was in Costa Rica, and I had done a bunch of demos with Emil Kelman, who's T-Bone Burnett's guy, and a bunch of other people, and worked at the Magic Shop, which is a great studio in New York, where Coldplay records, and Nora Jones and various people, and was sort of piecing the record together, which is, you know, because you do 3 songs and it's such an exhaustive process that by the time you're done with 3 songs, you can barely eat because you're so emotionally exhausted. I mean, that's the price. It really is exhausting. I had been emailed a track by a friend, a fellow singer, a friend of mine, and I had heard the track, and I knew Warren through The Fray and Howie Day. He just finished the Aerosmith record, and I knew Phil through his work with Adele, and he did the Someone Like You song and a bunch of other things. And so I reached out to him and said, you know, he's like the one person I hadn't really worked with in my sort of genre. So I reached out to him and said, let's get in there and do it. And you know, he did a lot of songs from scratch, and then he did a lot of songs of fixing and helping and reproducing and mixing and doing those kinds of things. It's darker. Well, I think when I first signed to Interscope, Geffen, I was sort of doing everything myself, and you know, when you're doing everything yourself, it's definitely scarier, but you know, you can sort of control and make things the way that you want them. And really, me being out there on the front lines and playing the shows and talking to people via Facebook or MySpace at that time, you get the feedback, what the people want. And now, because of the internet, it's just a totally level playing field. The record labels can't control distribution, and if a song's great, like the Lumineers or like, you know, Mumford and Sons or Macklemore, they all broke from the internet. So you really can get a lot from just, you know, doing what you want to do. And this record in particular is definitely more who I am. When I first signed to a major label, I was sort of angled to be an acoustic singer-songwriter, like in the likes of John Mayer and Jason Mraz, and that's not really who I am. I'm a piano player. I studied piano my whole life since the age of 3, classically trained. And so when I sort of broke free and had my own ability to A&R and do the things that I wanted to do, I was just like, I have to take it back and not do what I did the last 2 albums. When you're in a major label, it's like all you want is approval from your A&R person, from the president, from a radio person. All you're looking for is approval. And the reality of it is people sitting in a record label aren't out in the world, and they don't really know how fast things change and how different things can be. So I think that for me, it was just like, if I die tomorrow, at least like I'll make the record I want to make. And for the most part, I did that. I mean, it's definitely what I am as an artist, more so than the last 2 records.